So I'd now like to introduce our first speaker. Paul Cruikshank is the Renewable Energy Coordinator for the New South Wales Office of Environment and Heritage.
Hello everybody, thanks Jara. I've got about 5 minutes to give you a very brief background into renewable energy in this area and statewide. I work in renewable energy for the Office of Environment and Heritage in New South Wales, and I'm pretty passionate about renewable energy. So we're all on the one page. I want you to just remember a couple of figures because there's going to be lots of figures bandied about tonight. A megawatt is about 1,000 kilowatts. A large coal station like Bayswater or Liddell produces about a little bit under 1,000 megawatts. A very large wind farm with, say, 200, 250 turbines will produce about 500 megawatts. So 1,000 for a large coal station, about 500 for a large wind farm. The last thing I want to say is when we talk about renewable energy certificates, they're based on a figure called a megawatt hour. So it's a time of production for a megawatt. So when you hear the figures later on today about how much use Australia has in energy and how much we produce in this area here, go back to that idea of 1,000 megawatts for a big power station in coal, about 500 megawatts for a large wind farm. All right. New South Wales currently produces about 95% of our stationary energy, that's households and industry, from coal. Of the other 5%, the vast majority comes from the snowy. We have a tiny proportion from wind and solar. The only national and state agreement on renewable energy is the figure you've often heard bandied about, 20% by 2020. That is, the federal and state governments have all agreed that by 2020, 20% of our energy will come from renewable resources, bearing in mind that by 2020 our energy consumption is going up, so it's a really massive target. Okay, what's that for New England tablelands? It means on conservative estimates to reach the 20% by 2020, an investment of round about $6 billion in the New England tablelands, and I'm talking Tenterfield down to Walker. That probably represents about 1,700 megawatts, so say 2 large coal stations, and that'll be in wind, probably about half of that in large-scale solar and a small amount in biomass. And why am I going to concentrate on wind? 3 reasons. Wind is the biggest bang for the buck. It's the only renewable which has been proven worldwide to produce commercial quantities of renewable energy. It's the fastest growing investment in the world. Every year for the last 15 or 16 years, investment in wind turbines has been increasing by 30%. I was going to give you some figures for the world, but you just get dazzled by the megawatts and gigawatts. I suppose the last figure I wanted to point to is that at the moment, to get energy from wind, that is to construct a new wind farm, is slightly more expensive than to get energy from existing coal stations. When we talk about building a new coal station, then we're starting to reach parity, and the effect of a carbon tax, should it arise, will make a big difference to that, and I think Tony will probably refer to the changes a carbon tax would make to the comparative pricing of wind, coal and gas. Okay. I was asked to tell you what that'll mean for our region here. So I want you to imagine that you're driving from Inverell to Glen Innes on that lovely highway on which a new power line is being completed at this very moment. On the left-hand side, there's a religious community about 10 k's out of Inverell. Those hills behind will be the home of the Sapphire Wind Farm. We're looking at about 150 turbines. On the right-hand side of the highway, again about 10-15 k's out of Inverell, you've got the White Rock Wind Farm, and that's been approved for about 100 turbines. coming close to Glen Innes, you've got the case that everybody knows about, the Glen Innes wind farm, which has recently come out of court, and they were approved for 26 turbines along that Furukabad Ridge. And as you come down towards Armidale, we've got an approval of Ben Lomond wind farm near the town there for about 100 turbines. Now, each of these turbines is going to be about 100 metres tall. I think we've got some pictures of turbines around here, and it'll be the same sense that you get when you drive to Canberra. And you've got Lake George on the left and you've got Capital Wind Farm on the other side there. Okay, I'll finish off by saying that all of us have been perhaps reading the Herald and the Australian articles by people like Ross Gittins, who talk about how difficult it is to talk about jobs created by mining or lost in mining. It's all this future guesswork. My government produced a study from the Climate Institute which said, should the approved investment in wind farms in our region go ahead by 2020, we're looking at 2,000 new jobs, and they're smart jobs. I'll finish up by saying the one really good thing that's happened in the last couple of weeks is that following on the success of the Hepburn Community Wind Farm down in Victoria, down Daylesford, which has just installed its first 2 turbines, and we're talking large 2 megawatt turbines. A study is just being completed here for a community wind farm in our region, probably closer to Armidale than further, with the potential for 8 turbines owned by the community in a cooperative sense. And I've had the privilege of looking at a preliminary report. This is eminently feasible. So this is really good news. That's all you want? Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Paul, for giving an overview of renewable energy in our region and the potential for it.